Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 17th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 63 in the house, and we finally had a veto ceremony, even though it took quite a while to get there eventually. Some things have happened, some plans for the future and all of that stuff. So we're gonna be here to talk through it all, and with me to talk through it all is Matt. How you doing, Matt?
I am good. Janky Week has been something for the history books. We'll look back on this for years to come and talk about it in some capacity. But I think I'm more excited for the roundtable tonight because I think you guys announced that you're rating the players by how good of a person they are, right? That's happening later.
So basically just who can win through sheer amount of good personhood.
Yeah.
And good personhood is qualified by how poorly you're doing in the game.
Yeah. Look, the numbers are going to look a little different than they have the past couple of weeks. Everybody buckle up.
Yes. So stay tuned, of course, for that, for the roundtable tonight. But let's talk about what happened here throughout the day. As you all know, Leah is the HOH. She nominated Kimo and Rubina for eviction, then subsequently won the Janky veto. And then Angela won the regular veto. And Angela informed Leah that she plans to use the veto on Kimo as a bit of a paying him back for voting for him to be evicted twice.
Oh, he's gonna hate me.
Um, and Leah and Angela discussed that they would that Leah would probably nominate T-Core as the replacement, not as the target, just as the replacement pawn for Rubina to go home. Not that they wouldn't like for T-Core to leave, just that they would feel like they wouldn't be able to get T-Core to leave, and she just has to nominate someone and doesn't want to piss off the other side. So that is pretty much the plan coming into the day.
Also, it's been interesting to track over the past couple of days the mechanism of the janky veto, because I feel like every day we learned something new about what's involved with this veto being used or not, a competition being involved or not. So even I feel like, at least for me personally, to get up to the day that it took place to figure out exactly what's going on with how this is going to work. And I still kind of need the episode to give me a little bit more details about what's happening here, because they didn't, they haven't really discussed it in depth enough on feeds. We just get obviously these little clues and whatnot as to how this is working. But even up until last night, I was like, well, does she have this veto? Is she going to be able to use it? Confusing.
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So that's a good thing as far as understanding what's going on this week is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm sure we'll find out. They're gonna make a big meal of this second veto, but it spoilers, she doesn't use it. It's not gonna end up mattering one way or another. She didn't plan to, she didn't. It's yeah, just toss it up to a takeover twist, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, we really got screwed here, because if the roles were reversed, say Leah had won the regular veto and Angela won the janky veto, Angela would have gone hard to be able to win that competition, to be able to use it, and we would have had a double veto used this week. Even if she had to use it on Rubina, I feel like Angela would have done it. Even, maybe not much of a relationship there, but Angela is the type of person that's here to make these TV moments and moves and whatnot, and it would have been exciting, but it's okay.
So, a very sleepy day throughout most of the day. They're all waiting for the veto ceremony. Now, I did mention last night that there was some drama between Cam and Chelsie, because Cam and MJ had been a little cozy, and MJ noticed, and they got into a little bit of an argument. And, that didn't go unnoticed by anyone. And then Chelsie went and ranted about Cam and MJ for a while to T-Core, the person who has a good idea that she's about to go up on the block, and, that Leah has considered putting Chelsie on the block. And I said that, there's a world where T-Core could very easily use this information to help get Chelsie on the block. That doesn't happen. The T-Core and Rubina are basically going to spend the day talking to each other, talking and prepping for Kimo's Kimo's birthday celebration, and basically just doing nothing strategically.
Yeah, happy birthday, Kimo. Today, 36, I believe. So maybe we'll be a little bit more awake today in the house. Probably not. This week has obviously taken a lot of wind out of the sails of everybody having to eat pizza and ice cream and not like usually, getting outside, getting fresh air, and getting sun is what makes the house guests a little bit more alive and active. But obviously, when they are only able to get that and not able to move, they're contained in a small little box. Like they can't move out of the box. The Big Brother house is a big box, but at least there's different rooms you can go into and you can get a little bit of privacy from your other house guests for a couple of minutes. I've been very intrigued by this week in a similar way to, when it happened in 24 to a different extent of just like the element of watching humans be put in a pressure cooker of sorts to see how they react to just these strange conditions that we don't see on any other show. I'm not saying I love it, but I am a little intrigued by it.
Mm. Well, Leah talked to MJ, really, like, basically asked her again, like, "Am I being stupid? Am I an idiot for, riding for people that are they, like, not riding for me, AKA Chelsie?" Um, and MJ was like, "No, you're doing the right thing. Don't worry about it." I mean, I was a little weirded out last night. I don't know why she was so upset with Cam, but, like, it's gonna be fine. You can totally trust Chelsie.
Yeah, totally trust Chelsie.
Yeah. MJ tells Leah that next week she would be looking at putting up Kimo and Rubina, assuming that they can get out T-Core, because that is a conversation that MJ had with Leah the day before. MJ still on this kick of let's take out T-Core. And you know what? I'm happy to finally see MJ working towards something that benefits her game instead of the opposite.
I mean, she's her and Leah both in like separate ways have been wanting to see T-Core at least on the block, if not out of the game in some capacity for a while now. So the fact that now T-Core is going to end up at the end of the day on the block and an option to evict, it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic between Mackenzie and Chelsie and how that plays out. If Chelsie is able to fully convince Mackenzie to vote with her, or if they just vote on opposite sides. And this trio obviously showing that they're not as tight as the other trio, hence why that other trio is the one being targeted right now. Yeah, look at MJ go.
Yeah. But she says she would probably put up Kimo and Rubina next week, assuming T-Core leaves. And, then maybe like Angela as a replacement nominee, which really, again, is just telling Leah all she should need to know, which is that, yeah, that's still a trio over there. They're not touching each other. Like next week, final 7, you're gonna put up Kimo, Rubina, and Angela? Like, really? Like, even if that's true, even if you follow through with it, like, that's not great for Leah, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've come down on understanding the decision to, come after the trio. I mean, it's not like it took a lot of convincing to get me to understand why we were going that direction. They obviously are super unbreakable. 3 people, final 8. Probably should have taken out one of them last week, but at least they're getting the job done now, and we can move on in the same way that we needed to move on from the Tucker conversation at a certain point. Now we can move on from the trio conversation, and it's still going to be an unbreakable duo, but at least the trio, we can stop talking about it.
Yeah, we can stop talking about the trio and start talking about the trio.
Oh yeah, there's another one.
The other one.
Kind
Granted,
of.
Granted, yeah, listen, sometimes you don't need to be good, sometimes you just need to be lucky. And this Cam Chelsie stuff, there's a little bit of wiggle room in here. So Cam does try to talk to Chelsie early in the day about the night before, and according to her, she was like, "Yeah, no, nope, don't want to talk to you right now. What are you gonna say to me? I'm over it. I'm over it." Which is exactly what you say when you're actually over it.
Yeah. I heard America has a new podcast talking about love and love shows and whatnot. And I feel
Mm.
like, before we get to that show, this would be a good chance to jump in and hear America's thoughts on the Chelsea and Cam. Will they, won't they? Most won't they? But, room to track them after the season and see how this all plays out. This not so lovers quarrel.
Man, I hope there's like a way for us to hear her thoughts on this whole situation and everything like that.
That'd be
Hopefully we'll be
interesting.
able to talk to her soon about some stuff like that. Um, but if you want to hear her talk about The Bachelor, look at that. Look at this. Look at the screen. If you're watching the video version, you can see she's on the
Is,
screen right now.
is there
I don't know
a
if you
way to
guys
do
saw
that?
some really good graphic was released yesterday. America tells all. She's gonna be talking about Bachelor stuff, and very exciting, very exciting. Here on RHAP, that's the new podcast.
Yeah, the people she's going to be talking about when things get started is going to be are going to be people a little bit closer to Angela's age than
Mhm.
Chelsea and Rubina. Not Rubina. Hello, Cam. I don't know how I got Rubina there, but maybe we can start with breaking down the Chelsea and Cam of it all.
Mhm. All right. Well, you know, without America's expertise, the communication's not going well here. The veto ceremony does finally happen, and when I say finally, I mean like into the night. And because again, like there was nothing happening during the day. Um, Probably because it's like just not fun to exist outside in the sun all day. In a backyard, especially. I know that Survivor players would probably be like,
Yeah,
"Mm." But
but you
I
know
will
what?
say, I
At
do think
least
there's a difference between being outside and surely hardship definitely goes to Survivor, but there's I think a mental difference between like living on a beach and living in a like concrete warehouse environment
and I gotta
outside
say,
baking in the sun.
we got to talk about the bathroom situation because at least on Survivor, they're not all on top of each other's bathroom stuff. Look, I know a porta potty, you go to a concert, you go to a porta potty sometimes, but then you walk away from the porta potty and you don't have to live with it.
Well, listen,
The fact that
especially
they're,
when you can only eat pizza and ice cream, because let me tell
yeah,
you, they are
but,
having some issues.
yeah, but interestingly enough, some of them aren't using the porta potties because of, I don't know, stress. They're not eating enough, whatever the case is. Some of them aren't able to use the porta potties as much, but then some of them are sleeping directly next to the porta potties. It's not a good situation. Luckily, today's Tuesday. They only have 2 more days, we think, or 2.5 more days, I guess, before they are able to go back inside. We think, we hope, but it is not great.
Hmm. So they do finally get to the veto ceremony where everything goes as planned. Angela uses the veto on Kimo, and Leah replaces Kimo with T-Core, who has gone on to the block for the first time all season long and leaves Leah as the only person left on the cast to have avoided the block thus far.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, I do think that they were talking about that the veto ceremony took so long because they were waiting for appropriate lighting. With the sun glaring down, it wasn't giving them, what they needed to film a television show. Surprisingly enough, when you film in a backyard. So, but yeah, eventually it happened. T-Core is now on the block against Rubina. Tough for the trio, of course. T-Core not taking it super well. I would say she was pretty pretty blindsided, right? It didn't seem like she had any indication that she would be going up beforehand, at least a strong indication.
I mean, she had that conversation with Leah. It was made fairly clear to her that she would be going up. But it's she was
That
still mad
okay.
about it.
But I couldn't remember if Leah had said like if Angela uses it or if she knew for sure that Angela was going to use
Yes,
it.
she had
So
not indicated like, "Oh, this is for sure happening."
yeah.
So theoretically, there was room for her to feel like there's a chance she might not go up.
Yeah, and we've seen T-Core all season long play a very effective game, but also just very quiet, very kind of with her people, has her conversations, and she hasn't had to really take it to that next level because the fire hasn't been under her butt. She hasn't been on the block to feel that heat. She will now, and last night. didn't go so well as far as I guess a reaction. It was a very obviously understandable emotional reaction to the fact that for the first time she's feeling this pressure. But we'll see what she's made out of in these next couple of days, because it's not a clear cut vote as to which way it's going to go. Even if maybe on the surface it seems like you would count the votes and say, oh, maybe she is safe, but it could go either way.
Yes, it very much could, especially given the fact that very quickly we got Angela, Leah, and MJ coming together again to talk about T-Core and how they feel like they should vote T-Core out this week. They have 2 votes right there, Angela and MJ, which means they only need 1 more. Again, 5 votes in total this week, only 3 needed to evict somebody. And with Angela and MJ, they just need 1 more. Just need 1 more vote to make to have T-Core leave the game this week. And they think Cam is that vote. They see Cam as the swing vote, but they are worried about his relationship with Chelsie. Is he willing to vote against Chelsie? Is the main thing. And this is where, like, I think I mentioned this a few days ago when I talked about Leah's initial nominations and how, like, at the very least, she could get one of Chelsie or T-Core on the block, because even just getting T-Core on the block helps her immensely with positioning, because specifically it might expose the relationship between Chelsie and T-Core, not in a way that people didn't know existed, but in a way where it, like, throws it in their face. And this is kind of the result of that. MJ really wanting T-Core gone, knowing Chelsie will not want T-Core gone, genuinely puts them at odds this week for the vote. And that's the kind of, like, repositioning that you would like to create, especially if you're in a position like Leah's. So this is an opportunity, if she takes advantage of it, to really drive in a wedge here and pull in some numbers to her side, especially when Chelsie is, like, just, you know, fumbling all over the place when it comes to her
Yeah.
relationship with both Cam and MJ. So there are some openings here that Leah can take advantage of, particularly because T-Core is now on the block. And so we will see if she's able to get into some of these cracks and what this campaign for T-Core to leave will eventually look like and come to.
Yeah, I mean, we did see, I don't know if we'll talk about more, Chelsie and Cam kind of hashing out a lot of what happened the day before, and it feels like this was probably their biggest dispute that they've had thus far this season, and if they stay around to the end, probably won't be their last. But the fact that they are still able to come together and have a conversation, even though, like, as soon as it's over, you still got Chelsie running around saying things about Cam, but that's literally what she's been doing all season. I still kind of feel like they're going to come together and vote together on this one. But it is going to be super interesting to see how it all plays out with Mackenzie very actively. It's not just like kind of feels like maybe T-Core would be the better one to go. She's been, not working with T-Core for a while, has been fine with or hoping to see T-Core go for a while, just knowing that's not a player that fits into her game very well. And yeah, to see Mackenzie and Chelsie now have to do a bit of a tug of war to try to get Cam on their side, especially again, considering the Chelsie and Cam dynamic. It's going to make for an interesting couple of days if they have enough energy to have these conversations, because they haven't been. They've been struggling through the pizza and ice cream parties and dance parties and whatnot, and just throwing rubber duckies all around the backyard. So that is a factor, and could take what could be compelling gameplay and strategic back and forth and ruin that because they don't have energy. So
Mhm. Yes. So, while that conversation was happening between Angela, Leah, and MJ, Cam and Chelsie were finally talking. And Chelsie finally felt ready to talk to Cam and confront him about his behavior toward the women, specifically the cuddling kind. And basically, she's, like, she doesn't say cuddling. She says, "I feel like you're playing the women. That you're really playing around, using the women." To which Cam responds like, "What do you mean? Like, genuinely, what are you trying to say? Because you guys are mean to me all the time. Like, I'm constantly being picked on, and everyone acts like it's funny to say mean things to me. And then when I've tried to like speak up for myself, I just get shut down, and it becomes like, Cam, you can't take a joke. And this is true because he has tried to speak up in the past, and specifically Chelsie, as we've documented, has been pretty hard on Cam. Both in good times and in bad. And yes, when he has tried to be like, hey, please don't do that. Yeah, there's not a lot of response there. And I think the way he brings this up, the way he sort of speaks up for himself in this moment, uh, not aggressive in any way, like just very much like, this is how I feel, this is how I've been made to feel. I'm not like accusing anybody in particular, even though he was talking to Chelsie, and we think we know who he's mostly talking about. And I thought it was just a very like good example of communication coming from Cam. And again, like the way this conversation goes really seems to indicate to me further that like what Chelsie is talking about of like Cam intentionally playing her or leading her on, I'm just not seeing it in any of the conversations that we are allowed to see at the very least. Especially because she doesn't even bring it up to him at all, which we'll talk about later. But Cam, I think, very sort of, calmly and eloquently explains why he has felt hurt by people making fun of him, specifically her. And then on top of that, when they get into an argument, everyone flocks to Chelsie. Like, she has all the support, and nobody like comes and comforts him or asks him if he's okay. And to which she responds like, what do you mean? You don't have nobody. You have MJ and you have Leah, don't you? And he's like, what?
Gotta say, Cam, it's funny because Cam wanted Kimo gone this week. Cam was in a world where he was looking to be the last guy remaining, and like, come on, you're leaving all the girlies together, and you're surprised that they're gonna go comfort Chelsie, when she's having a moment that she wants some comfort. Like, come on, the girlies are gonna be there for the girlies, as far as the emotional support and whatnot. So that is not surprising to see that Chelsea's gotten some like encouragement and whatnot. But all of this is obviously coming from a place of, or from a conversation that they're just not actually having, where there have been feelings from Chelsie towards Cam, like real feelings at one point or another, and she's never actually like told him that, right? Like, she's never actually
Not that
had
we
that
have seen.
as far as we've seen, right?
Yeah.
So with all of that just under the surface, and they've never actually gotten to it just to talk about it, and say, do you yes, no, maybe, and if it's a no, then let's just move forward in the game and work the best we can. But even if they did have that conversation, he's still doing the cuddles with MJ, and they're still lingering from the beginning of the season, the Cam and Leah situation, and obviously Leah's still in the house. Cam has talked to her multiple times this week. So just the fact that all three of these women are still in the house, it's I understand to an extent where Chelsea's coming from, of just like not knowing what to do with herself, because she does seem like she still has some kind of feeling there, even if it's just residual from what started the season, even if it's gone down a lot. But it's tough. They're not talking about it, and it's causing all of this tension, and there's not been a healthy way to express more of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so she eventually apologizes. I'm sorry if I've made you feel bad. That's not been my intention. The poking fun at you, that sort of thing. I don't want you to feel that way. I'm sorry. And it's like, okay, thank you so much. They hug. It's like things are good now. Um, and it seems like the conversation is going to end there. But then it doesn't, because it's like, man, like, I'm glad we got over that. Like, how silly was that? Essentially, like, oh man, happy that we are, moving forward. And she's like, well, I mean, it's not like it was nothing. It's not like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I mean, it's just conversations. Like, what? is it just conversations? Because you are like all over Leah and MJ. And he's like, what what do you mean? Like, and he's trying to keep it light. And he's like, listen, are you kind of the jealous type? Is that what's happening here? You be a little jealous? Is that what's happening? And she's like, what? No, no, that I am the furthest thing from jealous. I just know my worth, Cam. He's like, wait, what do you mean? Wait, what does that mean? You know your worth. And she goes, oh, you're just so oblivious to everything. You're just so oblivious to everything that you do. And he's like, wait, what? And she says, um, it's just it's not that I'm jealous. It's that I'm just concerned for your game, Cam. When when people see you with MJ, when people see you with Leah, like these aren't things I'm concerned about. These are things that everyone else is concerned about. Everyone else has been having conversations with me about this, Like when Rubina comes up and talks to me about you and MJ, it's like, "Oh man, I'm concerned for you." When Kimo is coming up to me, when Angela is coming up to me, when all of these people are coming up to me and talking about you and how you're like so obviously paired up with people, it's just not good for your game. You know what I'm saying, Cam? He's like, oh wow, okay, well, I listen, I can understand that. Um, and again, like this to me, we haven't seen all their conversations, but like this, this is a lie. She's the one saying these things to other people.
Yeah.
She's the one that's concerned. She's the one that's concerned about this. And quite frankly, it's good for her game that if people were talking about this, and pairing Cam up with people other than her. It's a strange situation.
Yeah, the fact that the phrase could be yeah, people are saying this. Three people in the house don't talk anything. The trio doesn't say anything about anything. They will chat with you, but she's definitely not getting it from them. And what is she getting this from Mackenzie or Leah themselves? As far as like the game aspect of all of this is concerned, there are ways for Chelsie to kind of like get herself back on course with Cam as her still number one ally, which he pretty much has been throughout the entire game. I think it just involves a little bit for her from my point of view, picking up other pieces that are available after this week, Kimo and whoever's left of T-Core and Rubina. Obviously, it seems like her better bet would be with T-Core to like maybe pull them in and try to get Leah and MJ noms to get one of them out and to start to dissipate this problem where she's so focused on what Cam is focused on and she thinks Cam is focused on the other two girls. And if you can at least get one of them out of the way, then maybe that can just, again, focus you a little bit more as you get towards the end game. Because if she ends up like, this is what I've been, I guess, worried about in some capacity, because I don't know, an MJ win at the end of the day, some people are looking for it. I tweeted about this and some people were like, no, this would be great. Not really like the most exciting outcome of the season for me, but I kind of feel like we could be getting to a point if she gets down to the final three with her, Cam and MJ, I could see Cam and MJ saying, Chelsie played a very strong game. Let's just take each other and see which of us gets the votes. And then I think at that point, if the girls stick together, MJ gets the votes.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, this is just not a good strategic thing to be doing. Like, there's no strategic purpose for this because it only hurts Chelsie in so many different kinds of ways. But it seems to be like important to her to have these conversations with Cam. And again, to me, just indicates that like at the very least, like she keeps telling people that they've had this interaction that like indicates that he's given her some kind of promises, but when she talks to him, there's very little like context that seems to indicate that. So it's just a strange situation. And as of right now, it's sort of being masked as this sort of like I'm concerned for your game kind of situation. And I'm not sure how Cam is taking all of that. He says to her in this moment, like, okay, I understand where you're coming from if you're concerned about my game. So, that might have just been his way of like, okay, like that's fine. You can be concerned about my game. We'll move on. Or if he genuinely felt that way, like, okay, well then that makes sense. Like we can get back on the same page. I think Cam has obviously wanted to be working with Chelsie. I do think he has prioritized Chelsie in his game. To this point, the question becomes, will he continue to prioritize Chelsie in this game? It's very important for both of their games, whether he does or not. If he does, then he may keep Tikor this week, and Tikor may stay, and Chelsie remains in a very good position. If he doesn't, he may side with MJ this week and take out Tikor and put Chelsie in a bit of a worse position. And so it's not the best time in the world for them to be having this conflict.
I don't think this is a double eviction week. We would have heard about that by now, I believe. But this would be a really good week for a double eviction week with just all of this tension with Tikor and Rubina and Kimo, obviously all upset with the way that things shook out, with Chelsie kind of having her own thoughts of things having to do with Cam, MJ, and Leah. I don't know. It would be fun. And I just wanted to point out as well, you know who we haven't brought up at all? Angela. Not that she has nothing to do with any of this. So just to throw in a little bone here for the Angela, army out there, just sitting back, sitting pretty here as the rest of the house.
Yeah, she was in there, talking with Leah and MJ about taking out Tikor. But certainly, not a part of this drama.
Yeah, just as it continues, who's looking at Angela, even if she ends up as another pawn at another point. What are we locking her in for at this point? Definitely final four. Like,
listen, I locked her in for final 2 in week 2. So
yeah, I mean, you may as well.
I'm not backing down now.
Yeah.
Okay, so MJ continues her own campaign to keep Rubina take out Tikor. She talks to Rubina and lets her know that she's working hard to keep her this week. And Rubina's like, "Thank you, but I'm against Tikor, so like there's not a lot I can do to help you."
Yeah. So if the stock watch actually is not about good people ratings this week, I will be curious to see what Rubina gets as somebody who, this isn't the first time we've heard from her of, not being the most interested in her own kind of campaigns and wanting her friends to go on and succeed, and telling Tikor to her face, look, I know that we're your shields in front of you and it's okay. I get it. It's not a big deal. And now that the opportunity is here for her to be the shield to go out of the game and let Tikor live to see another day, I am not going to be surprised if the next couple of days it's just more of this, of more of her being like, I would want to stay. I don't want to get 0 votes. Like if I happen to get 1 vote, that's great. So Tikor can still stay, and I have 1 friend.
Yeah, it's it is what it is. Leah talks to Chelsie and kind of floats the idea of Tikor and how dangerous she is in the game, because there's this notion that we just talked about where it's like, okay, it's MJ versus Chelsie right now in terms of where the vote is. MJ wants Tikor gone, Chelsie wants Tikor to stay. That is ostensibly the truth right now. But Chelsie has indicated in the past that she's perfectly willing to vote Tikor out, or want Tikor out, or at the very least want Tikor on the block. She has mentioned that Tikor is the glue between Rubina and Kimo, and that taking out Tikor could be a good move. So it's not a given that Chelsie fights hard to keep Tikor around. In fact, she may come around to the idea of wanting Tikor out. It's not impossible. And so Leah has a conversation with Chelsie, kind of floats that idea out there, like, hey, Tikor is pretty dangerous in this game, no? And Chelsie agrees. She says, I agree. Tikor is going to be really hard to beat in the end. She's got, these 2 minions locked in, essentially. So yeah, I totally agree. Tikor is very dangerous. However, she does not take the bait. She does not bite on this notion of like, maybe we should vote Tikor out. It was more so like, I agree Tikor is dangerous, but don't worry about her because she knows she's staying. She's gonna be fine. There's not a lot of push here. Again, it's not like Chelsie was turning down the possibility of voting Tikor out necessarily, but more so, I think maybe even similar to the way that Leah and Angela were initially discussing it. Like it's not even really a possibility in her mind right now, is sort of the way that I think she was trying to propose it.
when she said she was putting T-Core on the block from, the earliest time that the conversations were happening, she said, I know that I'm not going to be able to get her out of the house, or at least that's what she was telling people, that she doesn't expect that she was going to get T-Core out, but she still, was planning to, essentially just split up the trio and get her at least on the block, take that record away from her and keep it in Leah's hands, keep the crown on her head. At the end of the day, I just cannot see a world where it makes more sense for Chelsie and Cam, especially Chelsie, to evict T-Core here. Yes, T-Core is a threat. Yes, T-Core will have friends on the jury. All three of these people in this trio will have at least two friends on the jury if only one of them is sitting in the final two. That is how math works. But at the end of the day, Chelsie can be much, 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 much more reassured that not just the next round, but the round after that, and maybe even after that, that T-Core would have her back than Rubina or Kimo, Rubina being the one on the block would.
Yeah.
So, why would Chelsie want to go forward into next week with being uncertain about what would happen if Angela won, uncertain about what would happen if Rubina won, if Kimo won? At least with T-Core, she can feel like, okay, maybe T-Core is going to put up Cam and Mackenzie, but she's not going to put me up if she needs a renom. I'm going to be safe.
Exactly. I mean, it benefits Chelsea's game in so many different ways to keep T-Core around. Not only is T-Core more loyal to Chelsie than I think either Kimo or Rubina would be, which is not to say that Kimo or Rubina wouldn't be loyal to Chelsie to some degree, but T-Core has I mean, the reason that Rubina and Kimo are anywhere loyal to Chelsie is because of T-Core.
Yes.
So T-Core is a lot more valuable to her in that sense. But even beyond that, the fact that T-Core is known as a big jury threat in the end is also really valuable to Chelsie because T-Core remaining in the game as a target for other people to need to take out really helps Chelsie. If T-Core is gone and it's Rubina and Kimo, there is a little bit of talk of Kimo being a jury threat, and that may or may not be true. And maybe there's some push to take Kimo out because we need to make sure he doesn't make it to the end, but not to the degree that there is with T-Core. And so Kimo, relying on Kimo to be your shield in front of you, we've seen how that's played out for many evicted players so far.
Mm-hmm.
But T-Core, that's a little bit better. Chelsie can work with T-Core, have T-Core pull Kimo in with her. And again, we've talked about this before. I mentioned the bow tie, right? Like Chelsie can be at the center of two different trios, her T-Core Kimo, her MJ Cam, and just move forward in that direction. It's a very, very good position for Chelsie to be, and all she needs to do is lock in Cam's vote, and then, quite frankly, ideally lock in MJ too. I mean, it's something she's done before. I think that like this Cam drama has been distracting her, and it's allowed MJ to start running off into like wild territory that is like MJ's playing for herself. Like, that's not
Across
good
the
for
yard.
Chelsie. Chelsie needs to reel her back. No, no, no. You're supposed to be playing for me or for me. Don't don't do things to benefit you. What do you
Yeah.
mean? Because the further MJ gets out, the harder it's going to be to reel her back in. So I think Chelsie really needs to like lock in and focus on the game
Yeah.
again and make sure that she doesn't let MJ start like campaigning too hard and like getting really invested in this plan because in an ideal world, MJ is with Chelsie when they vote to keep T-Core. It's one thing for Chelsie to be able to have the numbers to keep T-Core because she's got Cam. It's another, to like, but isolating MJ because she feels like she's been forced out of that decision. It's another to bring MJ in on the decision. So the sooner she does that, the better, in my view. And once she gets that locked in, and I think that she can, and she will, then she'll be in a very, very good spot here. It's just that, like, again, this Cam stuff seems to have opened up some cracks that somebody like Leah could exploit if she was on top of it enough, and that if left untended, could start to split what is an incredibly strong position that Chelsie has built for herself, considering the outcome of this week.
Chelsie is the strongest player of the season. She has been all season long, essentially. And even looking down at the roster that we have left, I still think that's the case, even if she's had a rough couple of days. we know how a Big Brother week works. We're in the final phase of the week right now, in the push towards the eviction. The last 2 full days that we have here to discuss the vote. Of course, agree that she really needs to kind of lock back in, refocus on making the correct decision and pulling, not just, making the correct decision between Tikor and Rubina, but everything you just said, making sure that she still has MJ by her side and working for her as they go forward. Again, this yard is not very big, so it shouldn't be that hard to keep MJ by her side and have those important conversations rather than letting her tuck behind, the carnival games with Angela and get Angela in her head for a while. I mean, she might not even realize, which would be fair, that Angela is as effective as she is in some of these conversations in just bouncing off. Like, her and MJ share the same goal this week, so they're going to be having a lot of conversations that's just reaffirming what MJ feels, and Chelsie needs to get that feeling back to be what Chelsie is feeling and not what Angela and MJ are feeling. That's going to be challenging because MJ has already gotten so far down this path of what she would like this week to be. But again, a new week starts now. A new part of the week starts now. The ceremonies are done. The powers are done. I mean, there's still going to be dancing and eating pizza, but she needs to find time to focus in and have these, have them come back together, not have the cam stuff affect her for the next couple of days, because this is a extremely crucial time in the game for especially Chelsie, again, as one of the strongest players left, if not number one. I think she's number one. She needs to focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she can.
Yeah. And also, for what it's worth, I think it's worth, if you are Leah, MJ, and Angela, talking to Kimo about this vote as well. If you feel like you are not able to get Cam, it's not like Kimo is not an option at all. Like, obviously, I think that his inclination would be to keep Tikor around, but it's not like he's not also really good friends with Rubina. And there is a strategic argument you can make that it is much better for Kimo's game to get rid of Tikor here, because, quite frankly, it is. But would he actually do it? That's a whole other story. But it's worth, I think, the conversation, especially if you feel like you're not going to be able to get Cam. There are so many different options available, I think, right now.
But is Rubina even going to be pushing for this to happen? Is Rubina even going to have those conversations with Kimo to say, hey, by the way, I really do hope that you keep me? It almost feels like she won't. Maybe I'm not giving her enough credit, but just, based on a couple of things that she said that generally you don't expect a Big Brother player to say when their life is on the line in the game. Look, friendships are great. Finding people in the house that you think you'll, appreciate their friendship for a long time to come, fantastic. But I have genuine concerns about Rubina and her ability to convince anybody to keep her in this week or to even have those conversations. So we'll see.
Yes. So speaking of Tikor, she does spend a good portion of the night talking to Rubina and Kimo. Then Rubina, Chelsie talks to them and complains about Leah. But Tikor really spends a lot of time talking about Leah and how upset she is with Leah. There's a lot of talk about their jury votes and how they don't think that Leah is playing a good game, an honorable game. She's a liar, and not somebody that they would vote for in the jury. And look at them. They will have a whole trio in the jury. These are conversations we have heard before regarding Quinn. They are now focused on Leah at the moment. And this is where, all of the, I think we're changing the game because nobody's tried to play this game as good people before. Like we have, we're going to really show the world that we can be good people in this game and succeed in that way is the message that Rubina wants to leave.
There we go. Good people. They're back. Welcome back to the show. But look, as far as Leah's concerned, she's had such an iffy relationship with this trio all season, and I would say that she's had opportunities to make it better, make their bonds better. Obviously, coming after them this week is not super helping with that. I don't know if she even though sees it from this perspective of like they have concern or they may not vote for me because I'm coming after them. It's just they haven't connected very well in the way that these three, the trio, have become such good friends. They just haven't had a connection with Leah. Leah and Kimo, it's been very surface level for a while now. And with T-Core, with Rubina, it's just like, they have conversations because they're all in there playing the game and talking to each other, but there's not enough of a bond by any means for them to feel like, this is just a game move. They're like, well, we already kind of, don't love this person. And she just did this to us. So you know what? Why we have no reason to vote for her. And we're good people. She's not.
We're just such good people. It's I feel like we have this conversation every season because every season I think that I think part of the problem is that Big Brother has dropped the ball with their edits. Because, back in season 6 with the friendship, and how they always talked about how they were good people, and America must be on their side, and then they were blindsided by, "Oh, how could America like Janelle?" And the edit really made a meal of that, right? But I feel like the edit doesn't dig into this enough nowadays, because every single season, there are people that are like, "We are the first. We are the good people." And they're not the first. And quite frankly, if you're saying you're good people in the Big Brother house, you're probably not. You know? Like, this is the thing. Like, in the context of the game, what you're talking about as being good people is not really good people. It is quite frankly, often very sanctimonious and judgmental.
Yeah. Good people, bad players. I think is my pitch for the episode title.
Mhm. Um, I think like let's get the edit focus on this a little bit, right? Like the we are the good people stuff. We need to bring it back to the edit. We need to show future contestants that don't think that you are good people, especially just because you're losing.
Do you think we could get anybody from Big Brother 6 to be on like the Thursday eviction episode and catch up with Julie and just talk about the concept of being the good people in the house? Think any of them are available to come by the studio?
Maybe. Um all right. Well, that's kind of where we leave off for now. That T-Core and Rubina on the block. I think the primary thing here for the rest of this week is what happens with this vote. Does MJ stay on the let's evict T-Core train, or can Chelsie reel her back in as soon as possible before things get moving too fast? And beyond that, where does Cam stand with this vote? How does Cam feel about Chelsie and the relationship that they have right now? I think that he still feels good about Chelsie in general. I think he still wants to prioritize her in this game, but that does not necessarily mean that he will blindly follow her on this vote. We will have to see. Obviously, last week he pushed for, and I didn't think this was the right move for his game necessarily, but he pushed against Chelsie for Chelsie wanting to keep Quinn. Um, he may do something similar with T-Core if he feels like he wants T-Core out. I haven't seen a ton of indication that he necessarily would. He has told Chelsie in the past that he also wants to prioritize T-Core, that he wants to bring T-Core to the end. So given this choice, I would assume that he leans toward keeping T-Core. But these are conversations that have yet to be like explicitly had so far. So those are the things to watch out for, I think, in the coming days.
Yeah, and it's not like Cam's relationship with Rubina or Kimo is any better than it is with him and T-Core. In the same way that we were just kind of discussing it from Chelsea's POV, I would say that Cam has actively wanted Kimo out.
Yes, he actively wants Kimo out. He had started to have conversations with Rubina a couple of weeks ago, and they were developing a relationship. But that has sort of gone away, especially outside. They have not picked up on that. lately. And I would say that, like in fact, Rubina yesterday was talking about how she felt like maybe something had gone wrong because Cam doesn't seem to want to talk to her anymore. So like communication has broken down between Cam and Rubina, but there was a relationship there before that could have come in handy here if it had been maintained properly. But it is something that could be reinvigorated by campaign discussions and like, hey, remember when we were talking and it felt good? Let's do that again. Although, again, Rubina doesn't seem to have a lot of interest in campaigning at the moment.
And doesn't Leah have a little bit of extra ammo to use as well here to bring up the fact that T-Core mentioned Cam's name as a possible renom? Like, has that even made its way back to Cam yet?
No, you would think yes that could certainly happen. But this house has been very anti using information to their advantage,
Well, there you
so
go.
we'll see.
Yeah, because obviously, if that comes into play, that is going to be something that Cam has to consider. But also, we need a solid conversation between Cam and T-Core to see, just feel out the vibe of like, now that T-Core is actually in danger, does Cam give her anything to make her feel assured? Does she give him anything to make him assured that he's not going up? Does she tell him? She probably is not going to tell him, hey, I mentioned your name to Leah. That wouldn't make any sense. But if he does find out about that, how does she recover from all of that? Because at this point, if the votes were to happen right now, they woke up and had to go vote. I would imagine that Kimo and Chelsie are pretty locked in on saving T-Core. Mackenzie and Angela want to evict T-Core. Cam completely, that swing vote in the middle. So it's going to be pretty important to see what happens with him in the next couple of days.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else, Matt, to bring up from yesterday?
I don't think so. Hoping for a little bit more excitement, as the next couple of days go, but probably not because again, they're still in the backyard. They're still having all these parties, which lamest parties we've ever seen. I mean, look in the TV edit in the episode, they were some fun parties. They looked fun. They were having fun. The nomination ceremony had me cracking up. But yeah, as far as the days have been going, they've been a little slow. The planes have been loud, as has been noted here on the podcast. So yeah, not much else, and hopefully. I'm hoping for T-Core to stay. So that's my stake. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you then. Of course, tune in tonight for the roundtable. We may have some more updates from the day of campaigning or maybe just laying around. So we will be rating the players. We're having some fun over there. Again, check out the America podcast, America Tells All. I think that will be premiering very, very soon after this. If you want to check that out, talking about The Bachelor. And if you want to fill out the survey for tonight, that will be coming out soon after this podcast ends as well. And then I'll be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds tomorrow night. Survivor is going to start.
Whoa!
Oh, boy.
First 2 minutes are out. And some clips.
Oh boy, yeah, I never watch those because I'm just gonna watch them again.
You gotta watch this one. Confessional.
I'm gonna watch it tomorrow,
someone.
and then I'm watching 2 minutes of stuff I've already watched.
Yeah, but then you can, be on Twitter for an extra 2 minutes or something. I don't
know. Well, Survivor tomorrow. I will be on Twitch watching Survivor live, which means watching Asia live on Survivor on Twitch. Come and hang out with me over there. And then Big Brother is also going to be on. What a long night that's going to be. So stay tuned for all of that. Matt, what do you got going on?
Check out the Free Agents podcast where Brian Scally and I are talking about the challenge, which is back this week after a week off. We also did, if you're done listening, whenever you finish the RHAP Survivor Draft, we did a Survivor Draft of our own, which we're actually going to put in our main feed tomorrow. And then check out the Diary Room where Amon and I actually had last week as a guest, Asia Welch. And then this week, an episode just went up today, actually, with Max from the Mammoth Club, which was a lot of fun for me to geek out with Max from his Disney content, big Disney guy. So it was fun to have him on. So check out all that stuff. I'm on Twitter at Matt Liguori, and here for a couple more weeks in the season. We're winding down sooner or later.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.